All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore. It is Monday, the 16th day of September. We do have patiently waiting in the green room, Mr. Thomas Baldrick. Thomas is with Freeze Dry Guy, and we're going to be talking about preparedness. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Real good. Well, it's dark 30 in sunny California right now, and thank you for coming on board so early. September, I understand, is Preparedness Month. Tell us about that.
Well, it's the interesting thing that this is the 10th anniversary of National Preparedness Month, and it's an outreach campaign just to get Americans on board with the need to be prepared. And here it is 10 years later, and there's still a need for greater awareness. Many people aren't even aware that this month exists. So there's much work to be done still. But this is a concept that came about. It was sparked by the 9/11 tragedies. Took about a year or two for government to put it together, and it's still not where it needs to be.
Well, we all know what's really important. That's Dancing with the Stars in professional sports, right?
Right, exactly. And Miley Cyrus, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a tough nut to crack to wake up Americans who are distracted by careers and mass entertainment and all the things that people get involved with. But we keep struggling along here, and your outreach here, Thomas, is part of that, and Freeze Dry Guy's outreach and his website. There's a lot at Freeze Dry Guy's website that most people may not be aware of, isn't there?
You know what, John? People can talk about sales that they've had and, oh, this is the greatest sale ever. I don't know if it's the greatest sale ever, but it's an unprecedented sale that we are having for September, and that we are able to have sales on Mountain House food, which has been around for decades, 50 years. And this is delicious freeze-dried food of all kinds of varieties, meats, entrees, fruits, vegetables. You just add water, wait a couple of minutes, and you've got fresh food that is really easy to enjoy. We've got these across the board at 40% off for National Preparedness Month. So
that's serious. Yeah.
Yeah. We've never had one 40% off. The most we ever had before was 25%.
Right.
And 25% off is significant, and we've been able to do those for a short amount of time, but nothing for an entire month. And what we're really trying to do is just give people enough of a easy entry point to get into the act of preparedness, to begin to do something to protect their loved ones and themselves in times of emergency.
Well, that's phenomenal. 40% off is, quite frankly, phenomenal. And Freeze Dry Guy is the first person to sell Mountain House foods to the general public. Before that, it was all just in-house government issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, back when, God, this is going back 40 years, or more than 40 years, when he was a member of the U.S. Military Special Forces. What they did was they rolled out this freeze-dried food to try to give something better to the troops in the field. And he tried it and loved it, and he said, hey, I want to sell this to the public. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, there's a lot of use for this. A lot of people will want this. And not just for preparedness, but he even recognized for outdoor use, for camping, hunting, etc. And so here we are today where, there's a lot of people doing it. But, the need is still there. He identified the need a long time ago, and the need is still there today.
Right. I don't know if Freeze Dry Guy told you, but he and I were in the same outfit in the 12th Special Forces group back then. We didn't know each other, of course, but we do have that common heritage. Thomas, waking people up. And people ask me, how can I wake up my friend, my brother, my spouse? And I tell them there's no silver bullet. It's different things for different people. Has that been your experience?
Everybody has their own hot buttons, JR. It's true. And sooner or later there's going to come something where you think the masses are going to wake up. But you look, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. And you would think that would have woken up many up and down the eastern seaboard, but that's not the case. The folks who work with hurricanes day in and day out were really looking at a phenomenon they called hurricane amnesia, where they just thought people forgot about it. And this was supposed to be a severe hurricane season in 2013, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that has not been the case. And, you know, for me and for many other Americans, it was 9/11. And at the time, you recall, there were signs everywhere and people everywhere saying, we will never forget. But unfortunately, many people have forgotten. You just got to think about what it is for you and your family and slow down from your busy life and just say, what do I need to do? What are my weak points? If something did happen, would I have enough food? Would I have enough water? And the answer is normally going to be no.
Well, Thomas, except for North America, United States, Mexico, and Canada, every other continent has had war on their soil in living memory. And we don't have that. It's not part of our heritage. The last time we had war in the United States, of course, was the War of Northern Aggression in the 1860s. But when you have had war in living memory, your attitude is different. And when you travel around the world, you find other different attitudes towards having a stock of food, having a way to get clean water, and so forth. It simply is not part of the American psyche, is it?
No, and you know what's so right about what you just said? Americans have this idea or this perception that a lot of these countries are backwards. Well, they may be in certain aspects, but not when it comes to things like just being prepared, of even in times of peace being great times to be prepared for war. In times of calmness, you know, in California, in times where it's a beautiful sunny day, being prepared for the earthquakes. It's there every day. It's looming, and you know, there's going to come a time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And there's going to come a time when that smartphone in your hand that you're so obsessed with isn't going to be working. And you're not going to be able to text people and say, where do I go for this? And you're not even going to be able to call them to reach them. I've been in those situations. And you're basically on your own. That's what the federal government is telling you with National Preparedness Month. We cannot and don't plan on us doing it all. You've got to step up.
Well, we have a meeting, a preparedness meeting scheduled here in my hometown, Thursday the 26th. And the bottom line is, Thomas, the first responders in any normal situations, whether it be a house fire or a traffic accident, they will be your first responders in a far larger and far worse situation. It won't be FEMA. It'll be whoever your first responders are now, your local firemen, paramedics, and police and deputies. That's who's going to be your first responders in the future. And they can only do so much at one time because they have limited resources to take care of normal problems, such as a house fire or an automobile accident or something of that nature, as opposed to a very widespread, life-changing situation. So they'll be stretched to the breaking point, won't they?
You are so right. And some of us internally in our company talk about the admiration we have for those folks. But if we were those and we were members of that local community, what would we do? Would we be taking care of our family, or would we be going out to do our job? It's a fascinating
It'll be a mixed bag. Well, let's talk about that more when we get back from the break. Call number is 800-313-9443.
John Moore is as close as your telephone. Call him right now, 1-800-313-9443.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore. We are visiting with Mr. Thomas Baldrick with Freeze Dry Guy, and we're talking about preparedness and the situation with these first responders. Tom, it's going to be a mixed bag, and I can tell you, I've lived in big cities. I live in a small community now. In the big cities, it's a different dynamics where the first responders may be commuting long distances from other communities actually to their place of employment. We're out here in the country where I live now. Your first responders don't have to go very far at all. They're first responders in their hometown. Everybody knows everybody. They all went to high school together, and the concerns would be different in a small town as opposed to a large metropolitan area in terms of would the first responders report for duty or would they stay home to take care of their loved ones? So I think you're going to find a breakdown in that regard. In addition, I know these men and women, if there's any way at all they can respond and do their duty, they will, regardless of whether it's an urban situation or suburban or in the country. God bless them. I mean, to make your living responding to disasters where there's people that have been injured and killed and property at risk, it's a tough way to make a living, isn't it?
It is a tough way to make a living, and it is a brave, heroic choice. And thank you for the one you've made for your country. The people we call first responders today are those who have made a similar choice to you. They just do it on the homeland. They do it in their community, and whether they're police, fire, and so on, paramedics, and so on down the line. It is on a good day, it is a challenging day. And when a crisis or an emergency happens, I just can't imagine what it's like to have that job to do. And you know, one of the things that we've looked at for a long time, and currently on our website, freezeDryGuide.com, there's something on there, John, that's near and dear to my heart. And for September, we've got a family first responders kit, and that we've just looked at calling people, giving them a call to duty in their homes, wherever they may be, in urban settings and rural settings, but asking the question, are you the first responder in your family? And if you are, then you will be prepared. You will have your family prepared. And so we've put together something for this month, and I do believe, based on the success, that we'll keep offering it. But right now it's at a significant discount. But it's cans of Mountain House food, breakfast, lasagna, stew, noodles and chicken, sliced strawberries. But beyond just the food, we've put together a water filter that'll give you up to 250 gallons of clean, drinkable water, and also a fire starter. And as you know, these are things that could be critical to you in a time of emergency. And you can't just think that, you know, I'll be the first responder. I'll get to my supermarket before everybody does. Well, on good days, your supermarket's they're going to have 3 days worth of food and supplies. And so there really are no limitations to what you can do to have your family ready for times of emergency.
Well, here's what's going to happen when you get to that supermarket. There's going to be clerks frantically using battery-powered calculators because there's no electric, accepting cash only, no credit cards, all kinds of a crowd of angry people who do not have cash, only have credit cards, and a couple of worn-out cops trying to maintain order.
Right. And that, you know, the order is also a big factor. In my work in television, I've covered a number of disasters, and there is if I go back and look at it, there is a time the event happens and then the panic sets in, and then the panic sets in on a much higher level for those who have done absolutely nothing. And then because they haven't done anything, they justify it in their own minds, well, we can break the law, we can do anything. And you see the social order just fall down. And that's when things go from bad to worse.
Did you, are you old enough that you cover the LA riots by any chance?
I didn't cover them. I was on the east side of the coast at that time, But I'll tell you what, like so many other Americans, I sure did watch in horror.
Well, I've been able to debrief several people who left Los Angeles and relocated to Missouri, largely due to the LA riots, as a matter of fact. And these have been pretty extensive debriefs, and what went on there, it goes far beyond what was reported on the television and newsprint news. It changed that city forever. Is what happened. The LA riots changed that city forever, and that could happen in any large metropolitan area, couldn't it?
Yes, it could, and it's still under the surface in Los Angeles. You see it come back. O.J. Simpson, Rodney King, even when the Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA championship the last time, it's there. Or when they lost, it's there. It is still under the surface.
Tell me, Thomas, I'm going to ask you to prognosticate. And if the George Zimmerman trial had taken place in Los Angeles instead of Central Florida, and he had been found innocent, any prognostication on what the possible outcome could have been?
Very bad.
That's why I knew that'd be your answer.
And the fact that something like that can grip our country and take our people's attention, and get individuals to express such outrage, tells you that the social order in this country is in many cases, delicate. I was going to say skating on spring ice, but it's there.
It is delicate. The veil of civilization is very thin and very fragile, and it can evaporate instantly given the right circumstances. And of course, when that trial was over involving the police officers and Rodney King, it was just minutes before the glass started breaking and the fire started. Of course, there had been at least one mostly black radio station that had been getting things turned up for days before, wasn't there?
There really was. And you know, with the media as it is today, it's not the traditional media. The media today is everybody. So if we want to blame the media, we can actually blame the people in our own community. We can blame the people that we follow on Twitter.
Right.
I mean, the media is now everybody.
Well, those things didn't exist. Those things did not exist in 88? The LA riots? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember too. Don't get old.
I think it was 88.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, those things did not exist in the 1980s. Twitter and Facebook and instant messaging and so forth. In fact, not everybody even had a cell phone back then. So it's all changed. You're right. It's the media is everybody now. Everybody who wants to be can be a newsman, can't they?
Exactly. And you know, the reality is that we all have choices in any moment on any given day, and we do have great role models to follow to take care of our family and the people that we love, even to take care of our community. We've got so many great role models, and we call them first responders, and we look at them with great admiration, but they're showing us the way. They're showing us this is the way you can live in peace in times of peace. This is the way you can live in peace in times of crisis. Do you have what you need? And do you have food? Do you have water? Do you have a way to protect your family? Because when the social order falls down, you're going to be scared. Imagine being able to tell your kids, I don't know. I'm sorry, honey, Daddy will look into it. When they say, what are we going to do? Where are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? And to say I don't know would be terribly sad and terribly unfortunate. It's easy. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to make one choice, take action on it, and then continue to create a healthy habit, if you will.
and remember the basics. And the basics are food, shelter, water, communications, medical supplies, a way to defend yourself. Remember the basics. We got a break. Call number is 800-313-9443. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore. It is Monday, the 16th of September. I need to remind all of you, my website is thelibertyman.com. Thelibertyman.com. That's where you'll find the energy cleaner for sale, part of a overall healthy lifestyle energy cleaner. $285 shipping included to American zip codes. You'll find my best-selling DVD, Global Warming, What the Government Isn't Telling You. Other articles there, free downloads. And, of course, a link to a freeze-dry guide at my website, thelibertyman.com. My toll-free auto line, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. If you'd like to place an order with freeze-dry guy, the toll-free order line, Pacific business hours, is 866-404-3663. I say again, 866-404-3663. FreezeDryGuy.com. We're visiting with Mr. Thomas Baldrick with Freeze Dry Guy, and we're talking about September being National Preparedness Month. And I want to talk a little bit about, Thomas, about how do we help people wake up, the people they care about, to the need for preparedness, their spouses, their siblings, their adult children. How do we do that, Thomas?
Oh boy, that's the $64,000 question.
It is.
We talked earlier about how everybody has their own button, but part of it I think depends on where you are geographically. Right now, the East Coast of the U.S. is looking at weather. Finally, the hurricane season appears to be waking up, and once that wakes up, then everybody else on the East Coast primarily will be probably in a higher state of being awake and being alert. You look at the city of New Orleans, John. It got caught with its pants down at Katrina. But today, if you live in the city of New Orleans, you know that it is a much more prepared city than it was 8 years ago.
Right.
The situation is everybody has something to deal with that you know of. Many things happen that we're not the least bit prepared for, but out here on the West Coast, earthquakes are a reality. On the East Coast, hurricanes. In the heartland of America, and in other parts, tornadoes are a major reality. So just those things alone, we know we've got to do something. And then there's all the unforeseen things, from acts of terrorism to war and so forth, civil unrest. The things are everywhere. And one of the things I think we need to do is get past the perception that preparedness is just about doomsday preppers waiting for the zombie apocalypse. It's just not true. It is absolutely not true.
Well, Thomas, I'll tell you something I've had some success with, and that's to use the example of insurance. You carry a automobile insurance to take care of unforeseen accidents with automobiles, health insurance for unforeseen health problems, your insurance on your house to take care of unforeseen problems that could happen to your house with storms or floods or fires. It's a non-threatening concept that people are used to, the concept of writing a check to pay for insurance once a month. And, of course, at the end of the year, you have a stack of canceled checks, as opposed to preparedness, another form of insurance, where you have three-dimensional objects at the end of the year, as opposed to a stack of canceled checks. Three-dimensional objects in the form of food and water filters and blankets and whatever else it might be, maybe perhaps a propane fire generator, to take care of unforeseen circumstances. And the concept of insurance is non-threatening, is politically neutral. People understand it, and most mature adults write numerous insurance checks every month. So this is a very non-threatening way to approach it and bring it to the table in a form people can understand the concept and not feel like it's something far out or bizarre or unusual.
And one of the beauties of that comparison is, unlike insurance, you pay auto insurance for a year. You don't use it, but you don't get to take it with you. You have to pay again. In this case,
right.
freeze-dried food is going to be there for you when you want it or when you need it most. So it's not like you buy it today and it goes away. We're talking about food with a shelf life guaranteed of 25 years or longer. Ronnie from our company is an Eagle Scout and a Scoutmaster, and he will travel around and do taste tests with Boy Scouts and their leaders, and bring them a can of 32, 33-year-old food, and then a can from 2013, and put water in both of them and say, go ahead, guys, which do you like best? And John, in many cases, the people choose the food that is 32, 33 years old. That's how well this food holds up.
I saw your people do that in person at the most recent expo in Lebanon, Missouri, a couple months ago, and there was people picked at random from the audience, and they did this test, and it was a blind test, so they couldn't tell which was which, and more than half picked out the 30-year-old food as opposed to the newer food.
Yep. You know, the other comparison that I do with people is if you've just lived for a few years, chances are you may have had a medical test and you may have had to fast. And just look at what fasting does to you. You're hungry and you're thinking about being hungry, and that's only a matter of hours. Imagine what it's like for that feeling to be with you for days. Imagine what it's like for that feeling to be with those you love, your children, your parents, your spouse, etc. This really, to me, brings home preparedness as well as to what do I have to do and why do I have to do it.
Well, I got a little saying on the back of my name tag for my desk. It says the following: and we've got plenty to eat and nobody is shooting at us. Most Americans, being hungry to me is the two things: not having food and having armed, angry men between where I am and where the food is. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and there's few things that will get your attention like having no food and having armed, angry men between you and where the food is.
Well, that's the proverbial rock in a hard place, isn't it?
Oh yes. And very few Americans have been in that situation. Even most combat veterans have not been in that situation. But it will consume you. Being the two things of being hungry and knowing you can't get food will consume and be the total focus of your life. While at the same time you're losing your ability to function as you are losing nutrition, you become weaker and less able to do the things you need to do.
You know, if we talked for an hour, 2 hours this morning, and we got one person to wake up and do something, then this would be successful. And it doesn't mean that they made a purchase at freezedryguy.com. It doesn't mean any of that. But if they realized, I need to do something, and I need to do it now before it happens, the day of is too late. The day after is too late. There is always a day before, but you don't know when that is. You're not warned. You don't get an email about it. It just is. You know, look at how America was September 10th, 12 years ago. It was just another day. Look at how we were. It's just, you know, we are so busy. We're so caught up in our lives. We're so caught up in our electronics. We've got amazing tools. We've got amazing living examples of everyday heroes. We've got it all right at our fingertips. We just have to look at it, think about it, and make a simple choice about it.
Absolutely. Thomas, I don't want to be cut off with the music. We're down to the last 60 seconds or so. Well, there we are. We're done. Thank you, sir. It's been fun.
It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Okay. That's it for the day. Get your energy cleaner while you can. Your supplies, medical equipment, guns, ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Be safe, and God bless America.